In today's video, we want to analyze the Vegas Golden Knights. We want to take a look at their first ever trade deadline, look at the moves they made, and we also want to analyze whether or not this crazy success they're having in the regular season will translate into the playoffs. Plus, we have a special guest to help us do that, and that's coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, today we're talking about the Vegas Golden Knights, a team that's easily the top story in the NHL this year. Their inaugural season has gone way better than anybody ever predicted. The success they're having is just absolutely crazy, and they turned into a very, very fun team to watch. The only regrets I have is being on the East Coast. I don't get to watch them a whole lot, and where I wanted to analyze this team a little bit more in depth today, I thought we'd bring on a special guest who is a local expert in the Vegas Golden Knights. So part of today's video, we're going to have a special guest. He goes by Vegas Golden Knight Coverage. His channel is going to be linked down below in the description. Certainly go check out his videos. He does very good coverage of the Vegas Golden Knights. Gives in-depth reviews on all their games, as well as other Golden Knights talk. So certainly go check him out. I highly recommend him. So go over, check out his channel, and consider subscribing. He does a great job analyzing the Golden Knights. So what I've asked him to do is I've asked him to analyze the trade deadline deals that the Golden Knights have made. Obviously, they had a big three-way deal with Pittsburgh and Ottawa where they retained some of Derick Brassard's salary. They ended up picking up Ryan Reeves in that deal. And they also had a deal with Detroit where they picked up Thomas Tatar that gave up 3 draft picks to do so. So I wanted a local perspective on how these deals will impact the team and what his thoughts were and how those deals went down. Also, the other big thing we want to talk about today is the success they're having in the regular season going to translate into the playoffs. As we all know, the playoffs are a very, very different animal and can be entirely different. We see teams all the time have tremendous regular seasons, but really bomb in the playoffs. So is Vegas going to be in that predicament, or are they going to keep this train rolling and have a lot of success in the playoffs as well as they march towards potentially their first Stanley Cup? It's hard to bet against them with the season they're having, but the only thing going against them, in my opinion, is they have a lot of guys who don't have that playoff experience. So how's that going to impact them? So now I'm going to throw it over to Vegas Golden Knights coverage, and we're going to hear what he's got to say on these topics regarding the Golden Knights. Take it away.
How's it going, everyone? I just want to give a big thank you to Top Shelf Hockey for having me on. Looking into the first trade, Vegas Golden Knights, they ended up getting Ryan Reeves and a 4th-round draft pick. In exchange, the Penguins, they ended up getting Brassard from Ottawa, and Vegas, we ended up having to retain 40% of Brassard's salary so that he could go to Pittsburgh. And the way that really helps out Vegas is the big part was that we knew Brassard wasn't going to be going to Winnipeg, or anywhere in the Western Conference for that matter, which is huge. That basically means George McPhee and all the staff in Vegas, they see us pushing hard to go into the playoffs to the point where they don't mind retaining about $2 million for a player that won't even be on their team, just so that they don't have to face a certain player in the playoffs. And if they do have to face that player, it'll be in the Stanley Cup. And Brassard's contract, it's up through 2019, so it's 1 year. And I don't think it's that bad of a deal because we have a lot of cap space available, and we were in a spot where we can make a move like this. And it's nice to see because people that have been watching hockey a while, if you're in a position like this, you got to try and go and do what you can to go as deep into the playoffs as possible, because this isn't, you don't have a record like this and have the kind of season that Vegas is having. It doesn't happen often, and a lot of Vegas fans here that are new to hockey, some may not realize it, and a lot of people are questioning what McPhee's doing, but I like that he did this, that he didn't mind retaining the salary, even though a lot of fans here aren't too happy with it, but it shows seriousness that they plan on making it far, and if they can take out an obstacle of like having Brassard, a good center, and keeping him out of Winnipeg, I like that. It shows that they're serious about this. And then also Ryan Reeves, he's that toughness, and we're going to really see, his production in the playoffs. We're going to, because everyone knows that penalties are harder to come by in the playoffs, and it's just a grittier game. And Vegas, we are lacking someone that's like that. We do have Deryck Engelland, as far as that kind of enforcer role, but he's kind of, as he's gotten older, he's kind of dropped back from that persona. And it's nice to have a younger, 4 or 5 years younger guy in there than England, to have him go in there and kind of have that role to where we want Derick England to play more. Reeves, we don't mind him being 5 minutes in a penalty box. And then also the other teams pretty much know they're not going to be getting away with much anymore. Trying to put on hits on our first line of William Karlsson and Marchessault and Smith and James Neal, you know. So I thought it was a pretty good move. And we also acquired Thomas Tatar. And at first, I liked the sound of it. If you go to my page and you'll see I had a reaction. I had my own reaction to that when I first heard what we gave up, and I kind of overreacted in my reaction video. But now that it's settled in, I'm okay with it. We gave up a first-round pick of this year, and then we gave up a second and a third. The good thing is that all these draft picks are not in the same year. They're all in separate years. And the first-round pick in the upcoming draft, with how it looks like we're going to finish the season, that first-round pick it looked at to be a lot more valuable in the beginning of the season. But now it looks like that's going to be a later pick, not as valuable, not as much of a big deal. In exchange, you get Thomas Tatar and when James Neal is healthy, which he's out at the moment, but Thomas Tatar, he's basically going to be on the third line. And to have a guy like that on your third line looks really good, especially in the playoffs. Adds a little bit more depth, adds a little bit more scoring to your roster. So I'm okay with that. And also, it's nice because I think he's also signed to like 2021, about 3 years left on his contract. So it shows that this isn't a rental. We're not giving a first, second, and third for a rental. We're giving it up for a player that we're going to be using in the future, as well as it shows that if we have problems re-signing James Neal or David Perron, we have someone that can take over on that second line already. It's not like we already have to go out and fill that spot. And if we can re-sign Neal and Perron, then what a weapon we have on the third line. Did Vegas overpay? Absolutely they overpaid. They overpaid a first, second, and a third on this. But does it hurt us? Does it hurt Vegas? I don't think so. During the expansion draft, Vegas, they ended up getting a lot of picks by picking the players that teams wanted them to pick, and in exchange they got picks from those teams to pick the players they wanted. And then trading a bunch of players that they didn't want to use in the season and got draft picks for that. So Vegas, they have an abundance of picks. They have an abundance of salary cap, a lot of salary cap left over. And after this trade, they still have a lot of picks. They still have a lot of salary cap as far as going into the playoffs and going into the season. They didn't give up any players either in the process. Instead, they only added to it, which is a good thing. If people are worried about chemistry and all that, I don't think there's nothing really wrong with chemistry. They only gave up Brandon Leipzig, and we added Reeves, and we added Tatar. Say worst case scenario, you say let's scratch Reeves and Tatar additions, and then we have basically the same roster, and with the absence of Brandon Leipzig, which I don't think is going to be the case. But I'm just saying is that people shouldn't be worried about our chemistry when we basically still have the whole roster except for one guy, and we added a better winger in Tatar. So the smarts of McPhee, we were in a position where we could give up a first, second, and a third to get more help offensively by Tatar. I do think that they should have went for a solid blue liner. Right now they have Schmidt was out the last game. Spies has been out a good majority of the season, and we could really use some help on the blue line. I think that's where they kind of dropped the ball on that. But, I mean, defensively, we've been pretty solid. I think the biggest key to going into the playoffs is getting everyone healthy. Because, like I said, we're missing James Neal. William Carey is out. Pierre Bellemare, he's huge on our penalty kill unit. He's been out for a good while. We get him back, our defense and the penalty kill is going to look a lot better. And then a huge part is Malcolm Subban. We need to get him back. We need our backup goalie to come back healthy because having, basically we have two other goalies in Legacy and Oscar Dansk, which are, both AHL goalies, so it'd be nice to get Malcolm Subban back for the playoffs. Going into the playoffs, do I think our season success is going to translate into the playoffs? I think to a point. I think it's going to be different at first, but I think the biggest key is everyone getting healthy going into the playoffs. Then I can see us continuing the success. I would have said it would have been a lot harder not having our any toughness in the lineup, but now that we added Reeves, I feel like that kind of solidifies the success we can have in the playoffs. Do I think we're going to make it to the Stanley Cup? Probably not. I don't think so. Speaking as a realist, as a fan, I think they will. But are they capable of it? Absolutely. All NHL teams are capable of it. They're all professional players, and I think Vegas can make it through the first round for sure. But when they have to, get up to Winnipeg or play Nashville, those are going to be tough games, which I'm really eager to see how they pan out. In the regular season, we've have had success against those teams, but like we all know, the playoffs are a different beast, a different animal. And so honestly, off the top of my head, I can see those games going to Game 7s for sure. But like we all know, it all matters of how the team's going at the time of the playoffs. And right now, Vegas, we've just lost 3 in a row. We're about to play New Jersey tonight as this is being filmed. And it depends if they're kind of in this slump and trying to figure out stuff and trying to get people back, or if the team kind of builds back up, gets players back, and they get back on that winning drive and getting that chemistry going again. So thank you again. I really appreciate you having me on Top Shelf Hockey. And honestly, as a Vegas fan, I'm just excited that we are even being talked about in the playoffs. Before the season started, on paper, when I was looking at it, I said I'm going to be happy if we could just finish the season with about 60 to 70 points. That would be good. And right now, we're in a position where we have 87 points already. And so for that alone, all Vegas fans should be really excited. And, you know, I just really appreciate you for having me on here. So y'all have a good one. Go Knights, go. Appreciate it.
Great job. Thanks for taking part in this video as well today, Vegas Golden Knights coverage. And once again, if you haven't already checked out his channel, it's linked down below in the description. Go check him out. Consider subscribing. He does a great job on the Golden Knights, and we'll certainly be having him on again in the future. So some interesting takes there for sure. I do understand the three-way deal with the Brassard trade. Obviously, they retained salary to prevent one of their big opponents in the Western Conference from obtaining him. Obviously, as we all know, there was lots of interest in teams picking him up. And it totally makes sense. They have the cap space. They have the financial stability to go ahead and make sure that one of their top opponents don't get him. That's a deal type of deal that you don't see very often, but it's certainly very creative on George McPhee and the Golden Knights' part. It was certainly potentially a wise move. I'm not sure he would have went to Winnipeg where they got Stastny, but maybe Winnipeg was trying to get Brassard and ended up getting Stastny as Plan B. You know, it's hard to say. We don't know all the ins and outs of everything that went on behind the scenes, but certainly a possibility for sure. And if it wasn't going to be Winnipeg, maybe it would have been Nashville or LA or one of the other teams that they're going to be going head-to-head against here come playoff time. On the Thomas Tatar trade, I know personally I originally said that I thought they gave up too much, and I know he did as well. If you watch his original reaction video to the trade, his original thoughts were they gave up too many picks. Now he seems to be settled in on the idea that maybe it was a good move and gives him a lot more depth. And the other question I've got to pose here is, does this Tatar move where he has term in his contract means that we may not see either David Perron or James Neal? Maybe both of them won't re-sign. Maybe this is insurance in case they don't. So certainly some great takes there as well. And I certainly hope the Vegas Golden Knights have playoff success. I know he seems convinced they will. So let's hope for the best that they carry on this great season. If you're new to the channel as well, consider subscribing. If you haven't checked us out yet on social media, please consider doing so. You're going to see our Twitter handle on the screen right here. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and all those accounts are also linked down below in the description. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.